entire life, either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and...
Shalom, Alekim, Yisrael, peace be on you. Your home found we with you here humbly so. That was Rita Pearson, entitled Every Kid Needs a Champion. We will pick up where she left off. Hopefully I can get the rest of it in there. Your home found we with you here, Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians, on the 20th of August, 2023, the year of their Lord. Don't mislead children. Lo Sheker Yeladim. Yo Sheker Yeladim. Don't lie to children. You know, we continue our Bemila Talk series, and hopefully to get it done by the time we do Sukkot. If not, we're getting there. But this is a very important because children in the beginning of their lives are passive. So you can write on this board whatever you want to write on them. And they have no authority or power to get out of it. So it will be indelibly in them. And they will have to maturation to understand it, to do a meta analysis of themselves, to filter out what was imprinted on them. But that imprint will always be there. Even though they may be able to overcome bad imprinting, there still will be an imprint on there. And we have so many Hebrews waking up, so many Hebrew camps. You got men leading camps who were raised by just a mother, didn't have proper raising didn't have input from a father. You got men leading camps who have many children from many different relationships. You got many women in the camps who have been abused in one way or another. Many children. You know, it's so much. We come from so much brokenness as a people. So much brokenness. I grew up with drugs. People have heard my story here many times. So much drugs in my house. We were the drug house. Come home from school and seeing whole house full of people, 25 people in the house dealing in drugs. Seeing parents fighting, all that stuff. We have come from so much brokenness. And you're going to see how powerful and strong Yahshua is about this. I mean, he says the most strongest things that he's ever said in the flesh right here on this topic. And last week we talked about how there's a two-part process of understanding Yahweh Shua. That's why you have the so-called Old Testament and the New Testament. The boy who was healed, it was a two-part process in healing him. The blind man that was given his sight, there was a two-part process for him to see clearly. And in the revelation of Yahweh, there's a two-part process. There's an understanding of it superficially, and then an understanding of it in a more deeper manner. Yahweh Shua will use a symbolism of a mustard seed for faith. It's the smallest of all herbs, yet it is the largest of all herb trees. We just have a mustard of faith. Put a little leaven in it. A little leaven is the whole lump, and it will grow. We see here that Yahweh Shua is finally here now in his third year of his ministry, straightforwardly telling the disciples prophecy of his death. Of course, they did not understand it, and their stiff-neckedness and their boxed mind acceptance of him. And that's what we still do to this day. We have our own mind fixed on what we believe about the Torah, about Yahweh Shua, about the plan of redemption. Instead of letting the Ruach HaKodesh guide you. Isaiah 42:19, this is why Yahweh says, who is blind but my servant? Not the world, because they received, they accepted him. They received him. It's the new brews and she brews who want to still go back to the pharaohs of their forefathers. So Yahweh says, the one who is blind is his own servants, his own covenant peoples. Those are the ones who are blind, not the world. We know that the symbolism of the fish represents the ecclesia, the called out ones. Mm-hmm. Yes, and we know that we was told that we will proliferate like fish. So like fish, we've gone throughout the whole world. We saw that the fish paid Yahweh Shua's debt, because we have a debt that we owe him. We owe him. All Yahweh Shua wants is all you got. All you got is all he wants. My man said it. I don't know if you heard of it. He said it. So, and in the payment of that, we see that what Yahweh Shua owed, according to the temple access to Yahweh, was the same amount that so-called Peter owed. So it doesn't matter whether you're a king, whether you're a prince or pauper, male or female. Well, the females didn't have to pay, the remnant don't have to pay. But prince or pauper, we all had to pay the same amount. Whether you're rich or an unemployment line, we all owe the same amount. And then I talked about the symbolism of how Jonah came out of the fish. Okay, so came out of the fish to go to who? To the Goyim, to Nineveh. They were not Hebrews. So this word is supposed to come from Yahweh's covenanted peoples to the world. We must do so in humbleness and in meekness. We saw that so-called Peter's father's name was Jonah. So it was not. This is not just coincidence. We know that Peter, so-called Peter, the actual name is Selah. Yahweh Shua renamed him Selah from Shimon. His name was Shimon, not Peter. And he had a dream, not once, not twice, but 3 times, of the unclean animals in the bed sheet. So this word was always supposed to go to them. And we talked about how Catholicism uses Peter as their first pope. They say he was one who began their church. Whereas, as we learn here in Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians, is Nicodemus who began the universal religion, which later became the Catholic faith, spelled with a K initially. I don't know if you realize that, but Catholicism was actually started with spelled with a K, letter K. And later it's now spelled with a C as it is now. But it was started by Nicodemus, not Peter. But at any rate, even if it was on Peter, which it was not, we find out that the name Selah means stronghold. And I taught here that you cannot build a foundation on a stronghold. It can save you, and it does save you, but then you have to build on Yahweh Shua, the rock, the cornerstone, the foundation. That's when you can put a house on. You can't build a house on a protrusion from a rock, or protrusion from a mountain, not a protrusion from a plateau. But Yahweh Shua is who we build our faith on. This faith is not founded on Peter. We saw right in that same conversation how he allowed Satan to use him and to call himself rebuking Yahweh Shua himself and saying he was not going to die. So we're going to build our faith on him, our foundation on a man who sins, who still didn't get it. You see that they argued, including Peter, amongst themselves about who was going to be the greatest. Yahweh Shua had to teach them, you know what? This is not what the kingdom is about. Who's going to be the man next to the man? You want to be so great, you have to learn to serve. You are a parent, and you have children. You're over the children. You're in charge, but who's doing all the serving? Your little girl doing the serving? No, you doing it. My man Chris saying he's tired. That man, he works. He works, and he's going to leave here and work. He takes care of his. His daughter ain't working away. She just look where the food at. Where I got new clothes I need. She ain't serving nothing. So she ain't paying nothing. So that's the way it is. The greatest is the one who does the serving. And so what the common denominator has to be amongst all these woke up Hebrews is Yahweh Shua. We're not going to be segmented on feast days and all that kind of stuff. People keeping a different kind of calendar. Some people wearing jewelry. Some people don't. Some people go to movies. Some people don't. People even have different dietary laws that they follow. What the common denominator is Yahshua. You call him Yahshua, that's fine. Some people call him Yeshua. I'm not even going to argue about the name. I know the way I teach it here and in my 2 books is the accurate way. The most accurate way from any fleshly tongue on this earth. Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. But we're not going to divide over that. Not going to divide over that. We ain't going to call him by no damnable names. Because you can call him Jesus, or why not call him Krishna? Why not? He wasn't called Jesus. You're going to call him that anyway. Then you can call him, why can't you call him Krishna? Buddha, Dalai Lama, whatever. So, Chris, give us our first one. We're going to go to Matthew 18, 6 through 9. Don't mislead children. Matthew 18, 6 through 9.
But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offenses. For offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes. If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or maimed rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into the everlasting fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire.
Wow. Now, I'm telling you, now what if he had never said that and I said that? That if you harm a child, it's better for you to have a stone tied around your neck and drown you. You're like, man, that man's too hard. You'll leave. Yahweh Shua said it himself out of his own mouth. You harm a child, it's best you never have been born. It's best for you to just have them just go ahead and drown you. He said, this is hard. This is hard. He went ghetto, gangster on. He went oh man, I can't think of the word. He went hard. He went hard on about this, about harming a child. This is an innocent soul that cannot defend itself. This is why Yahweh Shua loves the remnant, because the remnant are the marginalized, disenfranchised, lightly regarded, not regarded, underregarded, disrespected. It's the lame, the sick, the poor, the blind, the women, and the elderly. What a aborted child can do for him or herself. Yet we just lead the world in murdering innocents in the womb. You know, and when I went to Rome, we looked at went to the Vatican, went to the library there, and you saw there's a display about murder of the innocents, showing how this is their own. They telling on themselves how the Catholics use these swords, these daggers for abortions. All those popes making those babies with the nuns. It's right there. Look, you get your phone out and Google artwork, murder of the innocents. And so Yahushua went hard on them. Medieval, that's the word I was thinking about. He went medieval on them. You harm a child, that's your age. That's it. And he's saying, you know what? He even got, this is how hard he went. If your eyeball is offended, you keep sitting down, you need to pluck that eyeball out. Your hand offended, you keep on doing something with that hand you shouldn't do, chop it off. Go to the kingdom with one hand or go to hell with two hands. Which one do you want to have? Now obviously, he's not telling you to go out there and maim and mutilate yourself. He's trying to make, he ain't trying to do nothing. He's making a strong point. He's making it very tangible for you to understand how serious he is. And when I told you about that word, whoa, if you see a little child chasing the ball out the street and a truck is coming, you ain't got time to say, Junior, now listen, didn't I tell you shouldn't take a ball? You ain't got time to explain nothing. Whoa! Ho! Stop! Ha! You just do one syllable screams, or yells, or jabs. You ain't got time to be multisyllabic and getting down with deep words of philosophy and history about you're telling your child not to go into the street. You just go, whoa! That's it! And it gets you immediate, it's a natural, like, you know, if somebody was asleep, they jump up. If somebody was this way, they stop and look. Even if it has nothing to do with them. If you had nothing to do with you, you're in a crowd, and somebody yells and screams, whoa! Or help! Or don't! Or stop! Automatically, you're going to stop, look there and say, what's going on over there? That's what you're going to do. And this is why Yahushua used that word, whoa! This came from the man who created all things with the word of his mouth. So if he opens his mouth and say, whoa, you are a fool for not following whatever he says after that word, whoa. You are damned to hell. Wait till you see, he gets strong here. You know, the thing about following Yahushua, he doesn't want you to follow him out of fear from hell. He wants you to follow him out of love for him. Not out of fear of the devil. Oh, you only come to me because you fear the devil. What? They don't want that. Yet in this doctrine, he's talking about hell. He's literally talking about fear and death and hell right here. He's talking about, hey, you know, you're going to go to hell with your two healthy eyes. You're going to go to hell with your two healthy hands, your two healthy feet. He's literally going medieval. He's talking fear and he's talking hell. He's saying, whoa, don't you think you need to pay attention to anything this man said, who created all things on the power of the word of his mouth? When he says, whoa, don't harm children. How many got aborted since I started this? Matter of fact, I'm going to give the statistics on that next week. Let me write that down so I don't forget. How much abortions occur in this country per minute, per hour, per day, per week? People gonna pick up with that. Because this is serious. Hey, Yahushua, where else in the Bible, in the so-called Bible, where else in his ministry does he talk about, you know, you being scared about going to hell? That's not what he's about. He's about you, listen, I'm the man. You are messed up. You need salvation. Here am I. That's what he's all about. I'm coming here because I love you. I want you to love me. I love you. Right here, he ain't talking about none of that love. It ain't no love. He's talking about woe unto you. You're going to hell. He's talking about hellfire here. It's a different kind of a way of delivering his message. Go ahead, brother, man. Next, verses 10 through 14.
Take heed that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. What do you think? If a man has 100 sheep, and one of them goes astray, does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish.
Once again, after saying all those woes, he said, take heed. Take heed. Don't you think you need to listen to a brother who says take heed? He says, because you despise these children. And people are doing it every day. You leaders, especially, who are misteaching these children wrong. Teaching them wrong. And right now they're teaching these young boys how to rob cars and steal and murder. And they're teaching them so they can get away with it at 12, 13, 14, and 15 years old. The bigger ones are teaching the younger ones because they know 16, you locked up. 15, you can get away with murder. Murder. Steal all the cars you want during the day, go home, eat dinner at night. The area of Ralph pushing out drugs out there. And there's no such thing as good drugs. But I grew up with good drugs. People who was doing drugs in my house didn't die from it. Now they really try to kill you with it. I remember it was rare for somebody to just die from drugs. They were just speedballing. Weed was pure weed. You know, cocaine, heroin, you do a little speedballing. Not good, but you wasn't going to die. And then he says here, giving you a clue, you're supposed to get this. He's the greater Moses. What did Moshe do? How did this whole thing, communicating with Yahweh, start and him leading you out of Misraim, going after one sheep? He hemmed in the other 99, went after one sheep, went up the mountain, and that's when he saw the burning bush. Going after a sheep, remember that. And then you know how it all went down from there. He ended up bringing us out of Misraim, out of what you call Egypt. Yahweh Shua says, hey, you're not getting it. I'm the greater Moshe. I come to here, even if it's one child, I come out to save that which was lost. Hear me. Here is the living law right here. What I do is what you do. The greater Moshe. Now, in Luke, he says he's hanging out with sinners and tax collectors. That's the leaders. Yahweh Shua's angst is against the leaders. He is not nowhere. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you see him chastising the people. All his arguments are against the leaders who are misteaching Israel and misteaching the children. Trying to make them demons like them. Pick it up, brother man, verses 15 to 17.
Moreover, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more, that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector.
Now he used heathen and tax collector because that's what the scribes and Pharisees are accusing him of, hanging out with heathens and tax collectors. So that means this is the worst of the worst. Now understand that. You got someone from your brethren collecting taxes from you for the man. On your land. Romans are in your land, and they using other Hebrews to collect taxes from you for what they call, you gonna call the white man. So yeah, they were hated. And they were akin to just heathens. They hated tax collectors worse than the Samaritans, who with fake bruise. So Yahshua is saying here that you have a problem with your brother, you need to talk it out. You need to talk it out. He doesn't want to listen, and this is when you're correcting him. Through the word, this is what Yahshua is saying. He said, bring 2 more people. 2 or 3 people. He said, and what he's trying to get to, the power of 2. Because the power out of 2 comes eternity. Out of 2 is out of Adam and Mother Hawa came an infinite amount of souls. With 2, there's no end to what you can do. With 2, there's power. Yahweh did not do what he did down here. He did it through his son. John 1:1, all things were created through him. Yahweh didn't do any of this. His son. So with 2, you have all power, he's saying. If 2 be agreed, you're going to succeed. This is why the record says, how can 2 walk together unless they be agreed? How can 2 people? So with 2, you have all power. 2 in agreement. You know, think about it this way. Even if you got 2 people wicked, if they agree on how they're going to rob that bank and they work together on that, they'd be successful. They can't be arguing against each other and have 2 different plans. They both going to get locked up. So if you're trying to do something you shouldn't be doing, if you 2 work together on it, you're going to be successful in that wickedness, and it ain't going to last. Only righteousness lasts. You got married couples together for 60, 50 years, and they don't go to church. But they together in what they together in, that's all that matters. 2 being together. Long as 2 in agreement, you have success. You have growth. You have eternity. So he's trying to put here that we like to put a number on self-righteousness. We like to be self-righteous instead of being humble about, oh, I ain't gonna, last time I lent him that $10, I ain't giving him nothing this time. But he's saying, how many times do you forgive the brother? How many times? You keep score. We know what? The person who keeps score is the one who ain't carrying their weight. It's the one who's not keeping track. Remember, I keep going back to the parable of the sheep and the goats. The goats on the left was keeping score. They was keeping Torah, they was keeping score, and they didn't make it with their resume. The sheep on the right was keeping Torah, but they was not keeping score. That's why they were shocked when Yahweh says, that was me you visited in prison. They're like, what? We didn't see you in prison. No, remember that time? Yeah, I know, I was just helping because my sister said that that Uncle Joe needed some commissary, and she was helping him, but she needed some money. She was short, and I had some money. I just helped out. You saying that was you? That's what he's saying. See, those who don't keep score are just doing what they should do and not doing what they shouldn't do. So those who keep the score is the ones who are in error. They're the ones who are in the wrong. And this is what Yahshua is saying right here. Forgetting them 70 times 7. Brother man, go ahead to continue with Matthew 18 through 20.
Assuredly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again I say to you, that if 2 of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them.
Wow. That's a heavy promise. That's a heavy promise. And listen to how he started off. He said, assuredly. See, y'all sure remember, he opened his mouth and created the world. You think he wastes words? Do you think he go like, what I meant? I mean, my bad. Did he stutter? No. Chris said no. If he says something, he meant it. And if he means something, he will say it. He even said in John 14, I think it is, when he says, let not y'all trouble, you believe in y'all, believe also in me. My Father has many mansions go, and I saw what I've told you. He said, I would have told you if I didn't have these things planned for you. I think it's John 14. So he said, and he's really being strong. If you look at today's message I'm giving today, Yahweh Shua is speaking. There's more emotion in this today. When he's saying whoa, whoa, and all this, and take heed, and now right here he's saying assuredly. Now Yahweh Shua is the one that says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. In other words, you don't need to say a whole lot of extra stuff. He said, just say what you mean. Just mean what you say. Yet right here, we seeing in 3 narratives, before he says what he's going to say, he puts emphasis in it. And right here, his emphasis is the word assuredly. I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. So you and your wife agree on something here. Yahweh and his son is going to agree with it in heaven. That's not Yehonathan Dawid saying that. He is saying it. Surely I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So you got issues at home with your children. You and your husband, or whoever, your boo, whatever, you need to get together and bound it. You need to be together in unison and bound it and loose it. Yahweh and his son are going to co-sign on what you say. That's what he's saying right here. He said, I'm going to co-sign on what you say out of your mouth. That's why it's important to watch what you say out of your mouth. Who was there for Yahweh Shua when he was on the tree? Who was there for him? Everybody ran and left him, right? Everybody left him. He was by himself. And actually, he wasn't by himself. His father was with him. Between the hours of 12 and 3, as we call it, there was pitch blackness over the whole earth. And what went down on those 3 hours was between him and his father. Something that no created eye could see, no created ear could hear. Because before that 3 hours, he was deserted and abandoned and rejected. And after those 3 hours, there he was, all by himself, and 2 didn't. Sinners, one to the left and one to the right. The one to the right accepted him and is waiting to be with him in paradise. So what happens during that 3 hours of darkness? Agreement between the Father and the Son. You're going to die. I'm going to let you die. What's created cannot kill what has been uncreated. What has been created cannot destroy the Creator. So you're going to lay down your life on your own. But by the power of this word, you're going to resurrect in 3 days. That's the closest we can know what happened on those 3 hours. Because Yahweh Shua gave up his Ruach by faith in the word of his Father. They both touched and agreed on it. On the earth, and then on the Eretz, and then Hashemayim. And he gave it up. All souls are mine, Yahweh says. He gave up that soul. He went down into the earth for 3 days, like Jonah and the fish for 3 days. And he came up by the power of 2. Brother man. So, wait a minute. So, what was that, 18 to 20?
The next one.
Yeah, that was 18 to 20. And, so what he's quoting here is Deuteronomy 19:15. So this is not original word. Yahweh Shua is quoting from Deuteronomy 19 and 15 about the agreement of 2 or more, 2 or 3. And if you have that, like Adam and Mother Hawa, you have all of everything. That's why he didn't have Adam by himself. He was not made to be by himself. Yahweh is not by himself. He has his son. You are not meant to be by yourself. Ain't no child going to just pop out of your rib. You got to have somebody to do that. Don't harm children. All right, go ahead with the verses 21 to 22.
Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times?
I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7.
So here we go now, and up there in verses 15 through 17, talk about disciplining a brother, and this one is talking about how many times you forgive your brother. So I have a bad testimony, well, not bad, it's a true testimony of a Hebrew camp that I was in that really was the genesis of my wife and I leaving there. Because they did not go by Matthew 18:15 to 17 in disciplining two of the sisters there. And they went because their broadcast is on World Wide Web. I mean, you could be in Zimbabwe and see it. You can be in Australia. You can be in Russia, whatever. And these women were chastised right in front of everybody. But you don't do that. You're supposed to do that in the family. So that my wife and I, we left there like a few weeks after that. And right here is talking about forgiving a brother. And talking about a brother or a sister, this is someone who is like-minded with you in the belief of the Son Yahushua HaMashiach. That's what this whole narrative is about. The narrative in verses 15 to 17, and the narrative here in verses 21 and 22 about keeping things in-house. You don't take your child and go to the whole school and megaphone, I'm disciplining Johnny for doing this and that. No, you discipline your child in the home and educate your child and correct them there. It's not supposed to be for the whole world to know. And that's what this pastor of the flock did to these women at that worship place. At that temple, they call it. I don't like how saying the word temple is better than church, because it just is evil and wicked. And that's not how you discipline the flock. That stays in-house. That stays in-house. You spare him not, so the others will fear and not do the same sin. That's what Shaul says. But it's to the family, not the whole world can listen and use their smartphones and hear you disciplining somebody in your place of worship. That's sinful. That's according to this word. You take that brother to the side, that sister to the side. And then how often do you forgive? Well, 70 times 7. Don't keep score. Remember, the one keeping score is the one who's in error. They're the ones who's doing. They're the ones who's got the beam in their eye. That doesn't mean that the one who they're chastising doesn't have a speck in their eye. Sure, they do. In all likelihood, yes, they have specks of sin in their eye. Nevertheless, one keeping score has a huge plank in his. He needs to go ahead to the side and get himself do some prayer and fasting to get that plank out of his eye. And the reason why he can only see the speck in his brother's eye, that's all he's got available to see with. Because he got a big old plank in his, and he only see a little bit of crack of air, space, a crack of light. And if that one little bit of light he see, he's going to see the fault in somebody else. Man, oh man, we got some waking up to do. Who was blind, but my servant. Isaiah 42:19. Who's blind? But Yahweh's own covenant peoples. Blind. Blind to the realities of the law is. Blind to what the reality of the sword, which you call gospel, is today. Now they're trying to have multiple wives, all this dumb stuff. Chastising people for eating scrimps and all that. Man, y'all got some growing up to do. Now, let's go to the parable of the indebted servant. Matthew 18:23-35.
Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. But as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children and all that he had,
value of 10,000
and that
talents
payment be made. The servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all.
Talent is
Then the master of
T-A-L-E-N-T.
that servant
Value of
was
10,000
moved with
talents.
compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt.
60 million denarii.
But that servant went out
Value of
and
6
found
million
one of
denarii.
his fellow
60
servants
million
who
days
owed
of
him
work.
100 denarii. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay you all. And he would not, but went and threw him into prison.
So, Chris, you saying is 60 million what?
It says Yes, 60 million days of work.
Thank you. All right. Last time we talked about this scripture, I gave the numbers, and Chris just pulled it up for me just now. This is the station manager, the mechanical engineer, pulled this up for me to look this up. And so I wanted to look this up to make it more impactful what we're doing in this lesson here. So now we got, remember, he just got finished talking about how you're supposed to forgive your brother. So Yahweh is in place of this man who has these servants working for him. Now, the debt he paid on a tree, what he's trying to tell you is insurmountable. He used a parable to get you to understand. We have here in verses 23 and 25, this king is owed a debt by a servant who owes him 10,000 talents. What my man told me is that's equal to 60 million days of work. Now, this, and actually is worse than that, because when you count interest, you can't even pay the interest on that. Right? So that's 60 million, just like when you hit the big mega lotto, you can have the cash out price or payment, or you can get the annual lump sum. It's 200 billion if you live 100 years old and get it. Or you can say, no, I'll just take 100 billion. That's what this is. So it's really more than that if you had to pay it out every 2 weeks, every month. You can't pay that. And you can't live on enough to pay that. So when he was begging and pleading, and here's another thing that just shows you the wickedness in this man's heart. He said, have mercy on me, master. I will do all I can to pay it. Well, you already see this insurmountable. So what happened is that the king just had pity on him and mercy. He knows what the man was saying out of his mouth was impossible to do. Even if the man truly in his heart tried, he would die, even if he lived a long life, still in debt to the king. Yet it gets worse than that. He goes out and someone else owes him money. Now I already remember from last time I did this, I already remember how much that was. That is equivalent to 2 weeks' pay what this man owed him. Now yes, if I owe somebody 2 weeks, what I make in 2 weeks, that would hurt. It would hurt. But I could do it. I could pay him. All I gotta do, if he gave me a year to do it, I work on on a Sunday, work on a holiday, making some extra money. I can do that. And I can pay the man, pay the brother man with interest what I make in 2 weeks. I could do it. It would hurt, but I could do it. He grabbed the man by the throat, threw him in prison because he didn't have the money to pay him. Show you how stupid he is. How you gonna pay in prison? You got the man locked up. How you gonna pay you back and you got him locked up? Instead of listen to the previous lesson of forgiving your brother and saying, okay, last month you said you was gonna pay me, you didn't. Here I am again. I'm gonna lock you up. The man pleads with you. You remember you just left your master's house, and you owed him an insurmountable debt. And you pleaded and cried tears about your wife and your children. She pregnant, and your phone bill due. And he said okay and forgave you. Not just say okay, pay some. He just totally wiped off the debt. Now somebody owes you 2 weeks' pay, and you ring him by his neck and throw him in prison. And he's got a wife and children and water bill, and his children need Pampers. And you got him locked up. You got him locked up. How you gonna pay locked up? What he's trying to show here is several things. The debt that Yahushua paid for us on the almond tree on the Mount of Olives is insurmountable. Come to him, humble yourself, take the label out of your chest. He'll forgive you. He'll forgive you. He's not going to try to lower down the payment because you still can't pay it. Remember, you can't even pay the interest off 68 million. Humble yourself, come to him, he'll forgive you. But he understands there's others who owe you. People have wronged people. I got wronged today. And it's not even, it's barely past the afternoon. People wrong you all the time. Doesn't mean they have to be wiped their slate clean. But there has to be some kind of understanding, some kind of working it out. Remember, this is coming off the heels of these lessons he's teaching. About not arguing about who's the greatest. About training up a child in the way it should go. About forgiving your brother. About understanding. This is all these lessons he's giving here. Together. They're all connected. And so what we're doing is we're not having a plank in our eye to see somebody else's speck. Yes, he said offenses will occur. Yes, somebody's going to do you wrong. Okay, work it out. Because you're going to be surprised how much power you two have when you're in agreement. Okay, man, listen, can I give you this $20 a week? $20 a month? $40 a month? All right, I know you hurt. I know you just, your baby need pampers and stuff. I know you're working on weekends. You know, fine, okay, but I need my money too. Okay, let's work it out. I tell you what, just pay half. You owe me $1,000. You owe me $500. All right, $20 a month. Okay, peace, deuces. Work it out, because your soul has been provided for. The word says, "What will man give his own soul?" There's nothing you give to your own soul. And you're arguing with this brother when your soul has been managed. Your soul has been taken care of. So even gives you the middle finger and says, F you and your mama. Still, your soul, he can't take your soul. Yahweh took care of that on the tree. Wow. Again, this is the only time that we hear Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians. I'm just saying what the man said. This series is called Benilotah, in his own words. These are not my words. So, the judgment was pronounced on him when the king found out that he would forgive that man. 2 weeks' pay. 2 weeks' pay, which is hard to pay back, but it can be done. It can be done. I know my money is funny right now. If I owe somebody 2 weeks' money, I don't have it, but I could pay it. If he worked with me, I could pay it. So since this man refused to work with his brother, then the king had him thrown in prison. Now his wife is by herself without her husband. She won't see him no more, because he is going to spend his life in prison. Now she's a single mama, got to raise these children by herself because she had an idiot for a man. An idiot who all this debt was taken away. And now he don't have to work on weekends no more. Now he don't work because his debt was paid. Now all he can do is worry about his BG&E bill. And he still got, work paid and take care of the wife and children. But the debt that was insurmountable was paid. And since he didn't forget somebody else who owed him 2 weeks' pay, now he's in prison. Now she's a single mother. Now someone else is taking care of your kids or mistreating them or whatever they're doing. And it's hard to find somebody to take care of your snotty-nosed children. That's a hard thing to do. Don't bet on it. Don't put your money on it. So, what I want to do now is pick up this narrative from John, from the aspect of Yachanan. Let's go to Yachanan 7, 2 through 9.
Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brothers therefore said to him,
Depart from here and go into Judea, that your disciples may also see the works that you are doing. For no one does anything in secret while he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world.
For even his brothers did not believe in him.
My time has not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me, because I testify of it that its works are evil. You go up to this feast. I am not yet going up to this feast, for my time has not yet fully come.
When he had said these things to them, he remained in Galilee.
See, a prophet is not appreciated even in his own home. His own brother. Now later, they did, after he died and resurrected, after the Ruach HaKodesh was sent out, after Pentecost, he did have. But at that time, grew up with him. He was their big brother. And they, like, yeah, you all this stuff. Why don't you go down to Jerusalem? Go in there and show them all this stuff you up here doing up here in Galilee. Let them see it. Why are you trying to hide it? And this feast he's talking about is the one that's coming up soon. And we'll give the dates. I'll give the dates. Maybe I'll do it next week. We'll give the dates that's coming up. So I hope we get this done. We have Atonement coming up first. And then we'll give the dates out. We know that a lot of Hebrews are doing some stuff. There's no way in the world this is out now. These are supposed to be the fall feast, and this is summertime. You got Hebrews up there keeping the atonement in the summertime. I tell you, new brews don't know jack. Don't know jack. So he got his unbelieving brothers challenging him to take this Besor, or whatever he's got going on, down to the people. And those are the same ones trying to kill him. So you always show like, hey, don't you worry, you go. Because it's all about me anyway. You go. I'll get down there when I get down there. I like how he said, my time is not yet, but your time is always. In other words, you trying to tell me about my time. You know what? Every day you got time to get yourself right. Every day you got time to repent, to do what is right. Every day. Every day. He said, your time is now. Your time is right now. Don't worry about my time. You get yourself together. Next, verses 10 to 13.
But when his brothers had gone up, then he also went up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast.
Where is he?
And there was much complaining among the people concerning him.
He is good.
No, on the contrary, he deceives the people.
However, no one spoke openly of him for fear of the Jews.
So we got these Edomites after him to murder him. Yet they call themselves keepers of the law. So we got them conspiring to murder him. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our last one because I want to finish it because I want to try to get more of Rita Pearson's narrative in here. So go ahead, let's close out with the last one. And then we'll go with the outro with Rita Pearson. Thank you.
Now about the middle of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught, and the Jews marveled.
How does this man know letters, having never studied?
Jesus answered them,
My doctrine is not mine, but his who sent me. If anyone wills to do his will, he shall know concerning the doctrine, whether it is from God, or whether I speak on my own authority. He who speaks from himself seeks his own glory, but he who seeks the glory of the one who sent him is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moses give you the law? Yet none of you keeps the law. Why do you seek to kill me?
You have a demon. Who is seeking to kill you?
I did one work, and you all marvel. Moses therefore gave you circumcision, not that it is from Moses, but from the fathers, and you circumcise a man on the Sabbath. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath, so that the law of Moses should not be broken, are you angry with me because I made a man completely well on the Sabbath? Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment.
Now some of them from Jerusalem said,
Is this not he whom they seek to kill?
But look, he speaks boldly and they say nothing to him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is truly the Christ?
However, we know where this man is from, but when the Christ comes, no one knows where he is from.
Then Jesus cried out as he taught in the temple,
You both know me, and you know where I am from. And I have not come of myself, but he who sent me is true, whom you do not know. But I know him, for I am from him, and he sent me.
Therefore they sought to take him, but no one laid a hand on him, because his hour had not yet come. And many of the people believed in him.
When the Christ comes, Will he do more signs than these which this man has done?
The Pharisees heard the crowd murmuring these things concerning him. And the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. Then Jesus said to them,
I shall be with you a little while longer, and then I go to him who sent me. You will seek me, and not find me. And where I am, you cannot come.
Then the Jews said among themselves,
Where does he intend to go that we shall not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks?
What is this thing that he said? You will seek me and not find me? And where I am, you cannot come?
On the last day, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried out,
If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water.
But this he spoke concerning the Spirit, whom those believing in him would receive. For the Holy Spirit was not yet given, because Jesus was not yet glorified. Therefore, many from the crowd, when they heard this saying, said,
Truly, this is the prophet.
This is the Christ.
But some said,
Will the Christ come out of Galilee? Has not the scripture said that the Christ comes from the seed of David, and from the town of Bethlehem where David was?
So there was a division among the people because of him. Now some of them wanted to take him, but no one laid hands on him. Then the officers came to the chief priests and Pharisees, who said to them,
Why have you not brought him?
No man ever spoke like this man.
Then the Pharisees answered them,
Are you also deceived? If any of the rulers or the Pharisees believed in him, but this crowd that does not know the law is accursed.
Nicodemus, he who came to Jesus by night, being one of them, said to them,
Does our law judge a man before it hears him and knows what he is doing?
Are you also from Galilee?
Search and look, for no prophet has arisen out of Galilee.
So we'll pick up those 38 verses, Yahweh willing, next week. Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you. Yohanan Dawid. Support, subscribe to the channel.
So I came back to class the next day and I said, look guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise. You just have to strut. And I gave them a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you.
The preceding program was paid for by Yahweh for Christians broadcast.